Okay, Priyanka, you can start.
Okay. Good afternoon. I, Priyanka Pati, heartily welcome you all to the series of invited talks by our promising alumni organized by Gujarat University Botanical Society and Gujarat University Learned Alumni of Botany. Today we are also celebrating World Wetlands Day. We have with us our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Himanshu Pandya, as President of our function, our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jagdish Bhavsar, our Registrar, Dr. P.M. Patel, as our guests of honor. Our distinguished resource person, Dr. Dhara Bhavsar Rajput, visiting faculty, Department of Botany, Bioinformatics and Climate Change, Gujarat University, faculty members of the department, Archana ma'am, Solanki sir, Maitreya sir, Modi sir, Soumya sir, and all the participants. It is indeed a pleasure to have you all with us here. Gujarat University is on a fast track of progress. For the second consecutive year, Gujarat University has successfully achieved 5-star rating in the GSIRF for 2020 and 2021, the latest being selected in top 50 universities in India by NIRF 2021 and ninth rank by ARIIA. We are proud of our university, and as a mark of respect, let us rise for our university song.
वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन
वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन गुजरात युनिवर्सिटी आपणी गुजरात युनिवर्सिटी आपणी विद्यातणु तपोवन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन
राष्ट्र चेतना कला साधना खेल भावना विकसे
विश्व मानवी बनी गुजराती विश्व सकल માં વિલસે સ્નેહ સંપ સહકારની સાથે દેતી તું સન્મતિ સૌના સાથને સંગાથે સૌ સિદ્ધ કરે ઉન્નતિ પ્રેમ બંધુતા સમાનતાના પલ પલ પ્રસરે સ્પંદન
वंदन
अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन वंदन अभिनंदन
I request Archana ma'am to formally welcome our guests.
Thank you, Priyanka. Good afternoon. It's indeed a pleasure to welcome you all here to the series of invited talks by our meritorious alumni organized by Gujarat University Botanical Society and Gujarat University Learned Alumni of Botany. We heartily welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Himanshu Pandya, whose vision and mission has led Gujarat University to progress by leaps and bounds. Pandya sir has always inspired not only the students but the teaching and the administrative fraternity to excel with utmost dedication. We are proud that our university has 5-star rating by GSIRF and the latest being selected in the top 50 universities in India and ranked at 43rd position by NIRF 2021 and ninth rank by ARIIA. We welcome our Pro Vice Chancellor Dr. Jagdish Bhavsar, who has always motivated and guided us in all our endeavors. We also welcome our Registrar Dr. P.M. Patel, who has always supported us. We welcome our meritorious alumnus Dr. Dhara Bhavsar Rajput, who has earnestly taken up not only teaching and mentoring but also research in climate change. I also welcome my colleagues in the department, Professor Hitesh Solanki, Professor Bharat Maitre, Dr. Nanish Modi, Dr. Soumya Patel, and all participants. Today is World Wetlands Day, a day to reinforce our commitment for our wetlands. Last year, our students took a novel initiative of cleaning the wetlands in Ahmedabad by collecting the plastic waste from there. Likewise, coastal wetlands also have a predominance of mangroves and are very important. The significance of mangroves are innumerable. Apart from preventing shoreline erosion, they provide habitat for thousands of aquatic flora and fauna. Anthropogenic pressures have seriously impacted the mangroves. Today, let us take a pledge to conserve this unique ecosystem. We look forward to a great learning experience. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Himanshu Pandya, and our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jagdish Bhavsar, are there in a meeting and has conveyed their best wishes for this webinar. Our Registrar, Dr. P.M. Patel, sir, is here with us. Sir, we look forward to your blessings. Over to you, sir.
નમસ્કાર. આજના પ્રોગ્રામના મુખ્ય જે ઓબ્જેક્ટિવ છે એ વેટલેન્ડ ડે. ટુડે ઇઝ અ વેટલેન્ડ ડે. તો જેમ માન્ય અર્ચના મેડમ એમણે કીધું કે વેટલેન્ડ ઇટ ઇઝ our duty to make clear of our seashore and make them free from the plastic. મેડમે જેમ કીધું કે આ પ્રકારના સેમિનારો માટે માનનીય કુલપતિ શ્રી પ્રોફેસર ડોક્ટર હિમાંશુભાઈ પંડ્યા સાહેબ, માનનીય ઉપકુલપતિ શ્રી ડોક્ટર જગદીશભાઈ ભાવસાર સાહેબ તથા આપણા બોટની વિભાગના વડા મેડમ રિસ્પેક્ટેડ પ્રોફેસર ડોક્ટર અર્ચનાબેન, અત્યારે આપણા સેમિનારમાં જોડાયેલ રિસ્પેક્ટેડ ધારા મેડમ અને આપણા ઓવરઓલ સેમિનારનું લુક આફ્ટર કરનાર મેડમ છે. આમ જોવા જઈએ તો આપણે મનુષ્યને એવું હોય કે જ્યાં સુધી એને ઠોકર ના વાગે ત્યાં સુધી એ સુધરે નહીં. એન્વાયરમેન્ટના કેસમાં પણ કદાચ અત્યારે એવું થયું છે કે એક નાનકડી ઠોકર તો બધાને વાગી જ ગઈ છે અને એ છે કાર્સિનોજેનિક્સ. As we are a people from science, we know how much plastic is a carcinogenic, and we all are more or less suffer from this panic in the society regarding the cancer. આપણને યાદ છે કે કોરોના આવ્યો એની પહેલા જે મેજર રિસર્ચ હતું, that research is in how to prevent the cancer and how to save our soil. Same way, how to save that wetlands. તો આ જે આ પ્રકારના ડેઝ અને સ્પેશિયલી આ પ્રકારના ડેઝ આપણા બોટની વિભાગ દ્વારા કે જે તમામ there are a team of a good professors. એ ભરતભાઈ મૈત્રી સાહેબ હોય, નનેશભાઈ મોદી સાહેબ હોય, હિતેશભાઈ સોલંકી સાહેબ, સૌમ્યભાઈ and whole team of the madam. તો કન્ટિન્યુઅસ આ પ્રકારના સેમિનાર્સ થકી વિદ્યાર્થીઓમાં એક જાગૃતતા. મને યાદ છે લાસ્ટ યર મેડમે હમણાં કીધું કે પ્લાસ્ટિક્સને લેવા માટે ગયેલા અને બધા આ પ્રકારના પ્લાસ્ટિકને આપણા વિદ્યાર્થીઓ દ્વારા કલેક્ટ કરવામાં આવેલું અને એક સિમ્બોલિક કે આ પ્રકારે આપણે પ્લાસ્ટિકથી ફ્રી, હાઉ ટુ મેક ધીસ ફ્રી ફ્રોમ ધ પ્લાસ્ટિક. તો આ પ્રકારની એક્ટિવિટી આ વખતે આપણે વેબિનાર દ્વારા કરીએ છીએ. તો આ એક સિરીઝ ઓફ એક્ટિવિટીઝ એ કરવા બદલ હું ઓફિસ બેરર તરીકે મેડમ અને મેડમની ટીમનો ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર માનું છું. અને એજ્યુકેશનની અંદર એઝ અ સર્વિસ ટુ ધ સોસાયટી આ પ્રકારના પ્રોગ્રામ્સ કન્ટિન્યુઅસ અપાર્ટ ફ્રોમ અર ડ્યુટી એઝ અ સર્વિસ ટુ સોસાયટી ઇટ ઇઝ મેન્ડેટરી આઈ થિંક. અને મને અહીંયા જોઈન થવા માટે જે કહેવામાં આવ્યું એ બદલ પણ મેડમનો ખૂબ ખૂબ આભાર. આઈ થિંક વધારે ના કહેતા, એક્સપર્ટ્સ આર ધેર અને આઈ રિક્વેસ્ટ કે આપણા વિદ્યાર્થીઓ થકી આપણે સમાજમાં આ એક આવનારા સમયની એક મોટામાં મોટી ચેલેન્જ પણ છે અને આપણા માટે એક ડેસ્ટિનેશન જેવું એને ગોઠવી દઈએ આપણે કે ભાઈ આપણે આવું આવું ફ્રી કરવું છે. કદાચ ચેરિટી બિગિન્સ એટ હોમ, આપણે આપણા કેમ્પસથી જ એને સ્ટાર્ટ કરી અને એને સમાજમાં પ્રસારીએ તેવી અભ્યર્થના. થેન્ક યુ મેડમ. થેન્ક યુ.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we shall start with the technical session. We have with us our distinguished resource person, Dr. Dhara Bhavsar Rajput. Ma'am is also our alumni and we are proud of her achievements. Dr. Dhara Bhavsar Rajput is a visiting faculty at Department of Botany, Bioinformatics and Climate Change Impacts Management, Gujarat University. She has been a teaching associate at Department of Climate Change Impacts Management, Gujarat University since 2018. She has doctorate in philosophy from Gujarat University, Ahmedabad, having an expertise on mangrove ecosystem. Currently, she is handling a project on tree assessment and carbon sequestration potential in tree outside forest of Ahmedabad Mahanagar Palika, funded by Gujarat Forest Research Foundation (GFRF), Government of Gujarat, Gandhinagar. Ma'am is associated with many NGOs. She has been a project officer at Sashwat since 2013 and has been involved in different project activities of Government of Gujarat. She has conducted training programs and awareness activities related to conservation of plants and animals. She has also conducted studies of biodiversity and preparation of knowledge register. She has also helped in development of kitchen garden in cities as well as in rural areas. Dr. Dhara has worked as a freelancer at Center for Climate Change and Clean Development Initiatives (C4DI) as a research executive since June 2015. She has prepared draft proposals for research projects floated by central and state government forums and national and international institutions and research centers like UNDP, World Bank, etc. She has also served as a project coordinator in projects funded by Gujarat Forest Research Foundation, Gandhinagar. She has progressive 5 years research experience in various aspects of climate change, biodiversity conservation, carbon sequestration, etc. Dr. Dhara also has several research papers and books to her credit. We are delighted to have you with us, ma'am, and we thank you for joining us in this series of online invited talk organized by Cubs and Gulab. I request you to deliver your talk on amazing mangroves, a fragile and productive ecosystem.
Thank you, Priyanka. Uh, Before I start, good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I am thankful to Ashna Madam for giving me this opportunity and always being believing in me. I want to appreciate you and express how glad I am to work under your guidance and leadership. I am also thankful to Hitesh sir, Bharat sir, Nainesh sir, and Soumya sir, and all higher authorities of Gujarat University. And I hope I will justify the informative presentation on mangrove ecosystem. I am also grateful to all participants who are joining through various social media platforms for this webinar. Okay, slides. Okay. So, title is given to me is Mangrove, Amazing Mangrove, a Fragile and Productive Ecosystem. So, when we talk this type of question come in our mind, what are mangroves? They are a tree or a ecosystem. Where do mangroves grow? Uh, Types of mangroves, mangrove adaptation, and their ecological and economic significance. So, mangroves are a just a minute. Okay. Mangroves are a type of tropical coastal forest uniquely located at the dynamic interface of land and sea. They are found along coast and estuary throughout the tropical and subtropical area and are capable of thriving in a salt water. The term mangrove describe both ecosystem and whole and the plant species that comprise. Okay, mangroves form a foundation of a high productive biological rich ecosystem which provide a home and feeding ground for a wide range of species. It is a valuable ecosystem providing an array of essential goods and service which contribute significantly to livelihood, well-being and security of the coastal communities. Okay, this is the mangrove zonation classification. Mangroves are found in variety of tropical coastal setting like deltas, estuaries area, lagoons, and fringes of coral reef. This complex ecosystem grow best in shelter area with low wave energy. High wave energy destroy the shallow root system of mangroves. There are normally 6 functional type of mangrove forests as shown in the figure right side. So the 6 types are fringe, riverine, basin, overwash, scrub and hammock forest. So we'll start with the first type, overwash mangroves. What are overwash mangroves? So they are a small mangrove island frequently formed by a tidal washing. Second type is fringing mangroves forest. They are occur along the border of protected shoreline and island influenced by the tidal range. Then the next type is riverine mangrove forest. These are luxuriant patches of mangrove existing along river and creek which get flooded daily by tide. Third type is basin type of mangroves. They are stunted mangroves located along the interior side of the marshland and in drainage depression. Then fifth type is hammock mangrove. They are similar to the basin mangrove except they have occurring more elevated side than the fourth type given above. And the last type is scrub mangroves. They are from a dwarf mangrove setting along the flat coastal fringes. So these are the zonation pattern of mangroves. Okay, this is the mangrove classification. Mangroves can be classified into two categories: true mangroves and the mangrove associate. True mangroves are generally, we can call it as a halophyte because they are salt-loving plants and they have a special type of root adaptation like pneumatophores for gaseous exchange. Then they have a very unique leaf system. They have a waxy leaf. They have a soil gland present on the leaf surface, and viviparous reproductive system are present in the mangrove ecosystem. So these all are the characteristic of the true mangrove ecosystem. While second type is mangrove associate. They are not a halophytes, but they are a glycophyte. They cannot survive in a harshy marine condition. So they found in the mangrove ecosystem. That's why they are called it as a mangrove associate. So these are the mangrove classification. Next is why we call it as a mangroves. If you have ever spent time at the sea in tropical place, you have probably noticed distinct tree that rise from a tangled root wiggling out of the mud. These are the mangroves, and they are generally flowering plants with only exception acrostichium, which is pteridophyte. Mangroves are remarkable tough. They mostly live on a muddy soil, but some also grow on a sand, peat, and coral rock. They live in a water up to 100 times saltier than the most other plant cannot tolerate, and they flooded twice by ocean tide. In order to survival in excessive saline condition, mangroves make a various adaptation in body and behavior, and the salt is regulated through three mechanisms: filtration, storage and excretion. So this is the three mechanism followed by the mangrove ecosystem. So mangrove ecosystem is known for its unique structure and functional adaptation for root, leaf and fruits. How do mangroves survive in under such hostile condition? So they are remarkable set of evolutionary adaptation make it possible. So they can defend themselves against high salinity using this mechanism. First one is exclusion. Exclusion means species have a mechanism or able to reject or exclude a large portion of salt at the root level itself through the process called the ultrafiltration. And root are able to prevent most of salt from entering the physiological system of the tree. Second mechanism is accumulation. Species allow salt to enter their physiological system, but they are able to store in salt in leaves, bark and other part of the plant which are regularly shed off. Then third next mechanism is secretion. Under this mechanism, tree allows salt to enter the plant body, but they are able to ooze out undesirable excess salt through leaves. So these three are the main mechanism followed by the mangroves for saltwater filtration. These are amazing filtration technique adopted by the mangroves, and these are the root adaptation. So mangroves have a long underground cable root that absorb nutrition and form a dense network contributing to its support mechanism. Many species have pneumatophores, which is also called the breathing roots, to absorb atmospheric oxygen to overcome oxygen deficiency in soil. Some have a buttressed root at the base of the support in loose soil. A few species have a stilt root that start from the trunk base and fall into the soil, providing support to the plant. Many mangrove have a lenticel gland allowing exchange of gases between plant and atmosphere. Next is this is the leaf adaptation. So some have leathery, in some mangrove species have a leathery leaves coated with wax to reduce the loss of fresh water during the transpiration, and leaf have a soil gland for excretion of excess amount of soil. Unlike terrestrial plant, mangrove use unique vivipary mechanism to ensure reproduction in the hostile environment. Seeds germinated on mother plant, developing propagule with basic root and shoot system, and these propagules fall fixing themselves into the soil when they will get this favorable condition, and they grow into a mature plant. Uh, in this image, right side up, you can see mangroves in high tide and low tide condition. During the high tide, they get inundated and no oxygen supply was there. So they have developed themselves, or we can call it as they can adapt themselves in such a hostile condition for breed. Next is mangrove ecosystem. Why we call it as a mangrove ecosystem rather than call it as a mangrove tree? We can collectively call it as a mangrove ecosystem because it supports a remarkable faunal diversity comprised vertebrate and non-vertebrates. Mangrove forests are important for feeding ground for thousands of species and supports diversity of food web. Some organisms will eat the leaves directly, especially crab and insect, and other decomposer wait for mangrove leaves to fall to ground and consume. They decay material. This way, the recycle nutrition like nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, and iron for mangroves. Uh, Next is this is the mangrove diversity. Underwater sponge, snail, worm, oysters are the few animals that cling to the harsh surface of the wood. It is said that if there is no mangroves, no crabs, because for crab production, mangroves are very, very essential. So mangroves support the so many invertebrates like phytoplankton, zooplanktons, and other species. Invertebrates, they support the reptiles, tigers, and bird species. So mangroves collectively we can call it as an ecosystem because there are harbor for so many other habitat also. So these are the different service provided by mangrove ecosystem, like they are good for timber production, construction material, fisheries, biodiversity, food, firewood. In regulating mechanism, they regulate the climatic condition, they protect the coastline, they provide the nutrition cycling, water recycling. So okay, in cultural aspect, they are good for tourism purpose also, in research purpose, in education, cultural value. So ultimately mangroves are a unique ecosystem with lots of ecological significance. So again, how they protect, how ecologically they are very important. So they protect the shoreline against the water and wind erosion. They effectively function as a bioshield against the sea current, cyclone, and tsunami. If I'm giving you an example, in October 99, Odisha, east coast of India, was affected by the super cyclone. This cyclone killed more than 10,000 human beings. The only area were not affected, that is Bhitarkanika with dense mangroves. Not even single tree are uprooted, but many old avenue trees were uprooted. So this is the very good mechanism of mangrove ecosystem. There are many examples, like in 1970 typhoon in Bangladesh, 1983 cyclone in Kutch, in 91 flood disaster in Bangladesh. So in all this disaster where mangrove ecosystem were present, casualties were very less. So mangroves are one of the most productive area and form the base of food web and food chain. Okay, and they have a high rate of primary productivity, which is around 24 ton per hectare per year. They sink atmospheric carbon, which is around 0.055 gram carbon per centimeter square in soil. They also harbor a unique biodiversity. For instance, they are known to support a large variety of crab. They support the biodiversity of adjoining marine ecosystem by providing feeding as well as breeding place to many aquatic creatures, and they are positively influence fish availability in the mangrove and adjoining area. And mangroves are being worshipped in India. For example, in Sundarban, Banabibi temple, mangroves are worshipped. In Chidambaram, mangroves, one of the mangrove species, Exocaria igelocha, being worshipped by the mangrove community. So these are the ecological significance of mangroves. These are the mangrove diversity. These are the crab. This is mud skipper, butterfly, reptile, fish, camel, tiger, crocodile. So they are source of good biodiversity and they support the food chain and food web both. Now this is the worldwide distribution of mangrove habitat. So this world map shows the mangroves can found only at the tropical and subtropical areas. An international assessment of global mangrove extent confirmed that the vast majority of mangrove exists between 30° north and 30° south. Mangroves are decreased with increased latitude except for Sundarban, the world's largest tract of mangrove located in the Ganga Delta, 20 to 25° north, because for mangrove plantation, mangrove ecosystem, they require a flat warm condition. That's why this is the reason they can found only at the coastal, tropical and subtropical areas. About 1/3 of the world mangroves are found in Asia, which is around 42%, followed by Africa, 21%, and North and Central America, which is around 15%. This all data I have taken from the FAO website. And in South America, represents 11% of mangroves. While the world remaining mangrove forests are spread across the 18 countries and territories, 3/4 of the mangrove reside in just 15 countries, and less than 7% are protected. Okay, so this is the worldwide distribution of mangrove ecosystem. This slide shows the how many mangrove species are there in the world. So mangroves can be monocot or dicot. However, dicot plant boasts of more representative in mangrove ecosystem than the monocot. Mangrove do not represent any taxonomic group. They represent an ecological group of plants that are capable of growing in a particular habitat. This is because different mangrove species have evolved separately through the process of convergent evolution. And the different scientists have different opinion about the mangrove species because they do not represent any pure taxonomic group. And therefore, a number of species opinion differ as whether they should be treated as a pure mangrove or not. That is why in this table you can show different author have a different opinion about the mangrove species. Next is this is the mangrove species from different area of the world. Again, different area. The highest number of mangroves found in the Malaya region, and the least is found in the southeast USA. So this is the worldwide distribution of mangroves. Now next is mangrove distribution in India. So as we all know, India with the longest coastline is which is around 7,516 kilometer, including the island territory, and the fourth largest mangrove area in the world. About 60% of the mangrove occur in the east coast along the Bay of Bengal, and 20% on the west coast bordering the Arabian Sea, and 13% on Andaman Nicobar Island. The mangroves of Sundarban are the largest single block of tidal halophytic mangrove in the world. About 60% of this economy found in the Bangladesh, and remaining 40% lies in the India. The name Sundarban comes from the mangrove species Heritiera, former locally known as a sundari grass. this found commonly in this region. And this mangrove ecosystem of Sundarban famous for Royal Bengal tiger and crocodiles. The mangroves of Bhitarkanika, Orissa, which is the second largest in the Indian subcontinent, harbor a high concentration of typical mangrove species and high genetic diversity. Mangrove marshland occur in profusion in intertidal mudflat on both sides of creek in Godavari Krishna deltaic region of Andhra Pradesh. Mangrove of Pichavaram are degraded mainly due to the construction of aquaculture pond and salt pond. In India, if we talk about the west coast of India, mangrove mostly scrubby and degraded along the intertidal region of the estuaries and creek of Maharashtra, Goa, and Karnataka. The mangrove vegetation in coastal area of Kerala is very sparse and thin. When we talk about the Gujarat, northwest coast of India, mangrove species Avicennia marina, Avicennia officinalis, rhizophora are found mainly in the Gulf of Kutch and Kori Creek area. The condition of mangrove is improving, especially in Kori Creek region, Gujarat, which is paleo delta of Indus River. Once upon a time, it was part of Indus Delta. On the Andaman Nicobar Island, the small tidal estuaries and lagoons support a dense, undisturbed mangrove flora. So this is all about the mangrove distribution in India. In India, the highest number of mangroves found in the West Bengal, and Gujarat has the second highest mangrove cover due to the government of Gujarat initiative. These are the mangrove species in India. As I told you earlier, different scientists have a different opinion about the mangrove species because they don't represent any taxonomic group. They are an ecological group. So different scientists have a different opinion about the mangrove species. This is the mangroves in different part of India: East Coast, West Coast, and Andaman Nicobar Island. Now next is mangroves of Gujarat. So Gujarat hosts the second largest mangrove cover of the country, and we have the longest coastline, which is around 1,650 kilometers. Mangrove conservation and development has been given a very high importance to our state. This has resulted in Gujarat being the only state which has registered an increase of mangrove cover. The mangrove conservation and protection work of Gujarat has been much admired nationally and internationally. It has been possible due to appropriate policy and state government and the effective implementation. Government of Gujarat has taken a holistic approach to integrate different sectors for effective conservation of mangrove ecosystem. And the mangrove cover of the state is distributed over the four regions: Kutch, Gulf of Kutch, South Gujarat, and Saurashtra region. Mangrove cover is distributed unevenly over these four regions. The highest number of mangrove cover found in the Kutch region. Next is this is the mangrove of Gujarat image. Here, Gulf of Cambay has the mangrove cover. Here in South Gujarat, highest number of mangrove diversity are found, while in Gulf of Kutch, they have the highest cover of mangroves. This is the Kori Creek area. Sir, Kori Creek area is little distributed. Half portion is in the Pakistan and half portion is in the Gujarat. So here also lots of plantation activities carried out by government of Gujarat, and mangroves cover is very high in this area. So this is the all about the mangroves of Gujarat. These are the principal species of mangroves of Gujarat. I have also been Kutch, Khambhat, South Gujarat mangrove area. It's something really amazing to see mangroves kind of adaptation they have developed in very different circumstances, and really they are doing well in those fragile conditions. Certainly, it is very unique ecosystem, and they are not occupying large area of world, but value they have is undebatable. Among the 15 species, Avicennia marina is the most dominant species of Gujarat. In fact, it represents about the 97% of the total mangrove cover of the state. Furthermore, three species like Brugueria zimnorhiza, Lumnireza racemosa, Candelia candle are the Candle represent by only a single population in South Gujarat. Even though Kutch has the highest mangrove cover, the highest floristic diversity of mangrove has been reported from South Gujarat due to the better freshwater inflow. Okay, this is the some pictures of the mangroves of Gujarat. This is first picture is Acanthus illicifolius. This is Bulgaria. This is Avicennia marina. Again, this is Rhizophyrum nuconata. This is a tree of Avicennia marina. So this is the mangrove species of Gujarat. These are the mangrove associate. This is the eucalyptus protective wall developed by the Valsad. This is images from the Valsad. This is Phoenix species. This is Salvadora. So these all are the mangrove associate. Why they are called it as a mangrove associate? Because they can found in the uh, mangrove area. So next is threats to mangroves. Mangroves are destroyed for conversion of the area of agriculture purpose, fuel, fodder, and salinization, mining, oil spill, aquaculture, and industrial process. Mangrove degradation rate fluctuates significantly between countries, generally as a result of national difference in policy, legislation, and management. Conversion of aquaculture, agriculture, plantation, and coastal development has been the main cause of decline of mangrove cover with exploitation of timber and for timber and fuel wood, and pollution and erosion causing major degradation in some area. Mangroves are now also threatened by the climate change, which result about loss of further 10 to 15% of mangrove by the year 2100. Mangroves are expected to be very sensitive to rising sea level associated with climate change. For example, in Sundarban of India, two islands, Supari Bhanga and Locha Chara, were disappeared due to the sea level rise. Same way, more than 12 islands in southernmost part of the region are most vulnerable to sea level rise. And the impact of projected temperature increase, direct effect of carbon dioxide increase, and change in rainfall pattern are hard to predict, and that is why this fragile ecosystem affect the most. Ecosystem service loss will have a significant economic and social consequences, contributing to needy livelihood, decline human security, and overall poor quality of life for coastal population and ultimately mangrove nation as a whole. So these are the threat to mangroves. These are the some field photographs of Gulf of Cambay. I did research on carbon stock assessment of mangrove ecosystem. For that, I took sample from the soil. Here I am measuring the height and girth of the tree. So these are the some photographs of the Gulf of Cambay field visit. This slide shows the key global drivers of mangrove loss. This heat map represents the mangrove loss driver and their relative impact on different mangrove region of the world. Results are based on two-round Delphi type of survey with 10 mangrove experts. Category were assigned relatively value only when there was a majority agreement. Okay, so national policy, demographic, economic status, and effectiveness of mangrove protection have meant wide variation in loss in different countries. For example, between 1980s to 2010, Pakistan, Vietnam, Honduras, Guatemala, and 14% of their mangrove cover were destroyed due to some development activity. Over this same time, Bangladesh has no significant loss, having brought in protective legislation and policy for conservation. So coastal development is also one of the major driver of mangrove loss in North America and Southeast Asia, and it's growing concern worldwide. If we talk about the Asian countries, the conversion of aquaculture and various form of agriculture has been significant loss driver in mangrove habitat, particularly in Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. Industrial logging has been a key driver in Malaysia and Indonesia. If we talk about the Philippines mangroves cover, it is decreased by over 10% between 90s and 2010, mainly due to the conversion of aquaculture. In Sri Lankan countries, mangrove cover has been changed little since the 90s, with only 0.1% eluent deforestation rate between 1975 to 2005. And this loss has been due to largely conversion to agriculture, although aquaculture has been important in some area. And this is the also evidence for some of the coastal lagoon that mangrove has increased as a result of hydrological change. Mangrove have primarily been lost due to hydrological change, erosion, and conversion for human activity. but are gained through natural regrowth of forest or rehabilitation program. So this is the key global drivers of mangrove loss. This is the again importance of mangrove. They are uh, they help in tourism, coastal protection. They are carbon sink. They provide a home for large amount of wildlife like fish, reptiles, and all. So this is the importance of mangroves. Again, timber production, water filtration, shoreline protection, fisheries production. So this is the importance of mangrove ecosystem. Okay, this is very important. Uh, Many of the services provided by healthy intact mangrove are not marketable good, and this means they are often undervaluing market-based cost-benefit analysis. And losses are likely to impact on human well-being and are reflected in poor health, needy livelihood, reduced income, decline human security, and greater gender inequality, and overall a poor quality of life for coastal population and ultimately mangrove nation as a whole. Degradation of mangrove may have a direct implication for health of community dependent on them. Loss of wastewater filtration service of mangrove will increase the risk of contamination, eutrophication, algal bloom, and overexploitation will reduce the source of food and medicine. And loss of mangrove will result in declining mangrove dependent fisheries on which mangrove population depend as a source of protein, and the species on which fishery depend on many disappear entirely or move away with the consequent collapse. So this is very important. Now this is again the estimation of relative importance of mangrove ecosystem service type in different region. Again, this heat map was made from the expert opinion and amount of research undertaken for the region. The number of asterisks indicate the level of scientific research on the service type and each region based on Web of Science and peer reviewed literature. Based on the result presented in this table, there is a wide compromise supported by scientific research that is associated value of mangrove ecosystem service are high across the developing world. But the vast majority of mangroves and people who directly depend on the ecosystem service are located. In some cases, this can be presented qualitatively, such as the relative regional importance of cultural heritage derived from the mangrove to the people, and other case they can be quantitatively terms such as the amount of carbon stored in the mangrove forest. So this is the relative importance of different mangrove ecosystem service in different region. Now what is the correlation between mangroves and global warming? So they function as a major carbon sink in the tropical and subtropical coastal region. This table shows the carbon sequestration potential of mangroves of Gujarat. 72% is by mangrove soil and 28% by the mangroves plant. And the functional importance of carbon sink in the tropical and subtropical coastal region is very important. The key role of mangrove ecosystem management and restoration approach in national climate change mitigation strategy is increasingly being recognized. Preventing carbon emission result from the removal of mangrove ecosystem or so-called avoided loss can potentially become a major climate change mitigation strategy and opportunity for carbon financing. Mangrove forests protect the local community in tropical and subtropical coastal region in the event of storm surge associated with the global warming. So, okay, this is again very important. Reversing the trend conservation and management of mangroves. So, mangrove ecosystem play a large role in the climate regulation, food security, poverty reduction, strategy and action for the conservation and sustainable use must be integrated within the broader development planning framework. Government must recognize the strong link between mangrove ecosystem and its degradation. Coordination action on mangrove need to be ensured within international policy agenda as well as under different biodiversity, wetland, sustainable development and climate change agreement. How can we achieve or restore this fragile ecosystem? So there are certain steps. We can declare as a protected area. It's an important policy tool for global protection and recovery of habitat and species and can be used to prevent further mangrove loss and degradation. This kind of initiative taken by the Australian government, and they have developed a protected mangrove protected area. Second is what we can do. We can do a sustainable aquaculture and fishery practice, so that ecological function of mangroves are maintained or should be undertaken in such a way that it has no impact on surrounding environment. If I'm giving you an example of this initiative, in Southeast Asia country, mollusk, seaweed and fish are grown in mangrove waterway on the rat and cages, and such income generating activities are suitable for small scale family based operation and do not require clearing of tree or cutting of channels. Okay, what other we can do? We can adapt to the climate change. The resilience of mangrove to climate change will be enhanced if the ecosystem is healthy. Overall coastal resilience will be increased if mangrove are considered as an integral part of integrated spatial development. In Indonesia, Timbul Slopo village, this is in Central Java, Indonesia, local people use ecological knowledge about mangroves to prevent the coastal erosion. In Central Java, where the coastline repeated hundreds of meters in decade, wetland internationals, Indonesian government with support from the local community and other NGO plays a wooden permeable dam that mimic the function of mangroves by trapping sediment and depression wave. What other initiative? The restoration option. Mangrove restoration is one of the important strategy for reversing mangrove decline, rebuilding the ecosystem service loss due to the deforestation and degradation. We can involve local community, indigenous people, as well as relevant economic sectors like aquaculture, fisheries, forestry, agriculture industry, transportation, tourism industry that benefit from need to be conserved and restore the mangrove ecosystem. We can involve the mangrove beneficiaries. Local environment, profit sharing, payment for ecosystem service can all improve the successful management and long-term viability of intervention. So this is a very important reversing trend and trend in conservation and management of mangrove ecosystem. This is the what other initiative, what we can do, what government can do. So national policy and multilateral environmental agreement related to mangrove need to be strengthened, implemented and enforced country-wise for considerable variation in mangrove laws, like convention on biological diversity. We have UNFCCC and Kyoto Protocol, Convention on International Trade and Endangered Species, UNESCO Man and Biosphere Program, UNESCO World Heritage Convention. We have Convention on Migratory Species and Ramsar Convention. So this way we can, these are the international agreement and convention and program relevant to the mangrove ecosystem. This is again very important. These are the further resources for policymakers. These resources will help policymaker, researcher, government organization and NGO, national and international agency to gather exhaustive data on the various aspects of mangroves. And these organizations are doing great job toward the study of various aspects of mangrove ecosystem. Again, these are the future resources, mangrove action project, then climate action. These are the future resources for policymaker. We can get data from this. They are doing wonderful job on that. This is very important. Mangrove Afforestation program in Gujarat state. So Gujarat has an extensive mangrove half of the century ago, but it got depleted to its lowest level in 1970s. The extent of cover was below 400 square kilometers in early 90s. Government of Gujarat had incorporated mangroves in its golden goal program and has planned for raising 12,000 hectare mangrove annually. Then marine sanctuary was declared in 1980s and the marine national park after that around 1982, followed by mangrove restoration and conservation initiative. The impressive mangrove restoration work done by Forest Department of Gujarat reversed the trend in 90s, and mangrove conservation and development project was prepared in 93 and it's implemented since then. Forest Department has planted mangrove species over 50,000 hectares during the last 2 decades. Other institutes such as Gujarat Ecological Commission, industries also planted mangroves in about 5,000 hectare area. This is a remarkable mangrove conservation success story in Gujarat. This is the mangrove plantation versus mangrove habitat development. This work is done by the Pandey et al. Very important. Instead of plantation of few mangrove species, we need to follow an ecosystem approach, which require technical information, because mangrove ecosystem is a very important, because as I told you in the earlier slide, they have a ecological significance, they have economic significance. So we need to follow ecosystem approach, which require such technical information like suitable mangrove species, because different area require different mangrove species. Their environmental condition are different, so according to environmental condition, mangrove species will differ. So suitable site like soil and inundation condition, demographic suitable area for development of mangrove, incorporation of mangrove associate along with the mangroves. So this all kind of research are very required. We need to focus the area based on their vulnerability against anthropogenic and natural pressure. Ecological service function of monoculture mangrove plantation, which also need to be considered. So this is again a mangrove ecosystem habitat development approach done by government of Gujarat. This is the vulnerability assessment of the potential area of Gujarat. This is very important information which I need to share with you. Study carried out by government of Gujarat, Gir Foundation, on the identification of mudflat using remote sensing image. For Gujarat coastline, they had developed an enlarged map for each identified mudflat for ground verification, collaborating ground detail with Google image. After that, they have formed a zone based on ground information. So they have categorized into 3 zones: zone A, zone B, uh, like like this. Zone A, zone B, and zone C. Uh, and preparation of treatment map and plan for each zone. If we talk about the zone A, so zone A are the direct mangrove plantation is possible in this zone without any land treatment. Zone B is a mangrove plantation is possible after some land treatment, and C is mangrove plantation is not possible because this area are elevated, maybe elevated. I do not receive any regular tidal water. So they have developed a map, potential area map of Gujarat, and they have categorized this mangrove area, coastal area into 3 category. So in zone A, we can directly plant, we can raise mangrove plantation. While in zone B, we can do some land treatment or any other treatment. So we can make this area potential for the mangrove plantation. And then what they did, they listing of each potential area based on their vulnerability against the natural and anthropogenic pressure, and the opinion of local community and field staff also sought were declining the vulnerability category of each potential area. After that, they have published a report on potential site of mangrove restoration in Gujarat. Amazing work done by the government of Gujarat. After that, data was presented to government of Gujarat, senior official, head office, divisional staff, and this information was also shared with the other agency working in the same field. So everyone can raise the mangrove plantation in the potential area. After that, under the Green India Mission, central government has selected a potential area of 1 district, which is Bharuch, for mangrove habitat development. This is the only mangrove habitat development project selected under this scheme in country. It's a really a remarkable achievement. So this is the wonderful work done by the government of Gujarat. This is the last slide. Addressing knowledge and addressing knowledge and data gap. So over the last 30 years or more, we have gained much more better understanding of the functioning and importance of mangroves. Yet there is still much we do not know. This key knowledge gap that need to be filled in order to improve our understanding of this unique ecosystem and ensure and enhance their management protection. There is a sufficient evidence to justify the protection of remaining mangrove ecosystem worldwide. The lack of data cannot be used as an excuse for inaction, particularly given the increase in freely available remote sensing image. Ecological models are also available. Mangrove management expertise are also present. So country-wise, dramatic mangrove loss over the past decade require urgent action, and there is an urgent need to improve country level data on mangrove resources, many countries still have insufficient information on the extent of their mangroves as well as health and ecosystem benefit. Several multilateral ecosystem agency MEA and convention including the Convention on Biological Diversity and Ramsar Convention committee member countries to set aside the protected wetland are including mangroves. So these are the addressing knowledge and data gaps in mangrove service. That's all about the mangroves. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for delivering such an informative talk. Now, ma'am, we have some questions from students. So, the first one is, what precautions need to be taken while visiting a mangrove?
Yes, Priyanka, can you repeat it again?
Yes, ma'am. What precautions need to be taken while visiting mangrove habitat?
Okay. As we all know, mangroves are inhabited by various wild animals such as crocodile, reptile, tiger, python, poisonous and non-poisonous insect. Okay, so one should take care precaution while moving around the mangrove habitat. Secondly, regular tidal inundation convert this area into partially wetland with loosely muddy soil. So many times people get trapped in muddy area and need some immediate rescue. So it is advisable to visit this habitat in a group.
Okay, ma'am. The second one is, what is the most interesting feature of mangrove diversity?
Okay. Uh, Mangrove forest located at the interface between sea and land. Okay, we all know they are found in the intertidal area. Okay, so they support the terrestrial as well as marine biodiversity due to their linkage with aquatic as well as adjoining terrestrial ecosystem. Mangroves support impressive spectrum of biodiversity. So this is the answer. This is the interesting features of mangrove biodiversity.
Is there any threshold temperature zone of mangrove?
Yes, mangroves prefer area with an average add temperature that does not go beyond 20 degrees Celsius in the coldest month, and they do not prefer area with annual temperature fluctuation of more than 10 degrees Celsius. So this is the threshold limit of temperature for mangroves.
Okay, ma'am. The last one is, are there any success story of mangrove restoration?
Yes, I have already mentioned in my slide. The government of Gujarat took a wonderful initiative for mangrove restoration. So many organizations are working on that. D Foundation, GEC. They did community-based mangrove plantation. They involved local community. They trained them. Then, with help of their local experts, and they raised the mangrove plantation in this Gujarat. And if I'm giving you the example of Ahmedabad mangroves in Bauliari village, community-based plantation was done in around in 2010, and this area got Priyadarshini Award for amazing mangrove plantation in this area. So this is the success story of government of Gujarat initiatives.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. So, on behalf of the department, I thank Dhara ma'am for sparing her valuable time for us. And now I request Achna ma'am to deliver the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Priyanka. So I'm delivering the formal vote of thanks on behalf of Professor Bharat Maitri, who is out on a university task. Respected Professor Himanshu Pandya, Dr. Jagdish Bhavsa, Dr. P.M. Patel, Dr. Dhara Bhavsa Rajput, my colleagues, and dear participants. At the outset, I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Himanshu Pandya, for constant encouragement and guidance. I also heartily thank Dr. Jagdish Bhavsar for his motivation and help. I thank our registrar, Dr. P.M. Patel, for his timely support. I also thank our distinguished speaker, Dr. Dhara Bhavsa Rajput, for giving an insight into amazing mangroves. Thank you so much. I thank all the participants for their enthusiastic participation in today's webinar. I thank Dr. Agarwal, Director Rolwala Computer Center, Gujarat University, to facilitate live streaming of the event on University Facebook page and YouTube. I thank Dr. Mr. Sagar Banchal from GUSEC for technical help. I also thank Ms. Priyanka Pati for anchoring this webinar so gracefully. Thank you, Priyanka. And last but not the least, I thank my colleagues in the department for their timely help. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So now
Thank
we
you,
have
ma'am.
had a very informative and exciting learning experience, and I'm sure all of us will now be able to relate to this role of wetlands and appreciate the need to protect it. I once again thank you all for joining in this invited talk. The feedback link is on the screen. Please fill it up and get your e-certificates. Thank you. With this, we come to the end of the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.